Wembanyama just finished up an amazing rookie season.
Wembanyama is making history.
Tips it down. He's got 33 and we're tied at 119.
Is it safe to say we just witnessed one of the greatest rookie seasons in NBA history? And I know that some statistics are going to say otherwise, for example, stuff like points per game and whether or not the Spurs did well. But I want to look at a number of things that Victor Wembanyama just did this season, because I have to say, as someone who's been watching basketball since, 2014, I have never seen a rookie season like this. And I can say with full confidence, this is the greatest rookie season I've ever seen personally, and I'm 19 years old. So even though today the NBA playoffs officially start and we should be forgetting about 14 different teams in the league, I feel like we still need to talk about this, because this season is going to go down in the record books as an all-time great season. Now, I want to start with where the Spurs currently stand because of Wemby. Because before this season, we could argue the Spurs had absolutely no direction to go. Obviously, they were going to get high draft picks, we already knew this, but it's not like San Antonio had anything good going for them. However, the second they got Wemby, everything changed for this organization. They went from a team that, oh yeah, they used to be good, and yes, they are one of the greatest franchises in NBA history. However, now we're at a point where San Antonio could damn near be a dynasty in less than 10 years. We just saw Golden State's dynasty crumble in front of our own eyes, and in fact, I think this team is going to break up in the offseason. But now we could possibly be seeing a brand new dynasty to take its place. And I'd like to argue San Antonio has the perfect situation ahead of them. They just drafted the greatest rookie prospect we've seen since LeBron James. And not only was the hype warranted, I feel like he has done more than what the hype said he was going to do. I mean, we all had this idea of what Wemby was going to be this year, but he did more than what we all expected. Not to mention the Spurs did have a terrible year as far as record goes, so they're gonna get a top 5 draft pick. Now, I doubt it they're gonna get the #1 pick again, but there are still some solid prospects in this class. Not to mention, it seems like San Antonio within the next couple years is gonna be a very hot market for free agents. And the main reason is to play with Wemby. Now, let's actually get into what Victor Wembanyama accomplished this year. As far as stats went, he averaged about 21, 10, and 4, while almost averaging 4 blocks per game and a steal per game. Now, his shooting splits he definitely could have worked on, but I need you guys to understand something. While these stats are great, especially for a rookie, I need you to understand what Wemby went through this year. Because not only was he on a minutes restriction for a majority of the year, but he wasn't even playing the right position at the start of the season. I believe they had him playing power forward for a good part of the year, and then they switched him to center, and then everything got better. Also, it's so hard for me to take some of these games seriously when we can clearly tell they were trying to lose. I mean, let's honestly think about it. Was there any benefit to San Antonio this year? Obviously, they were not going to make the finals. Nobody thought that was going to happen. Even if they would have made the play-in, let's say, and they had a chance to make the playoffs, I mean, nothing good was going to happen. This team is not ready for that moment, and that's okay. I mean, that's probably why we saw a bunch of those clips of like Wemby's teammates seeing him open and just not passing him the ball. Now, you could also say, oh, they were jealous he was getting all the attention and they just didn't know how to make the right play. But Greg Popovich is a smart basketball coach, whether or not people want to admit it. You don't think Pop wasn't telling them to do the wrong shit on purpose, or at least kind of encourage it, or at least do plays that was not meant for Wemby? Because one thing I've noticed this year is, yes, Wemby can score the basketball. We all know that. But Wemby's biggest impact hasn't even been on the offensive side. In my opinion, what Wemby does on defense is by far more valuable, because I could sign a random dude to score 15 to 20 points per game, and that's cool. You need that on your team. I mean, 21 points per game, sure, it's not bad for a rookie, but that's not why Victor Wembanyama is on this team. He's on this team because he completely transforms the defense in everything they're made of. The stats show when Wemby is on the court, the Spurs are one of the best defenses in the league, and this man makes up for 20% of the lineup, yet he still has this big of an impact. Even some of the best defenders in the league do not have this type of impact when it comes to these type of stats. And I thought it was so interesting that Victor Wembanyama was actually considered for Defensive Player of the Year, and I know that there's a very good chance that Rudy Gobert wins. I mean, the voting is currently going on right now, but there are still some people who are actually considering Wemby for DPOY, and I'm gonna be completely honest, I think that's fair, because I know with MVP we have, a lot of standards, and I've talked about that on this channel. However, we don't really set standards for certain awards. I mean, for example, Rookie of the Year, it's usually a pretty basic award. Which rookie had the best season? And for the most part, it is a very simple thing to judge. Every now and then we'll have like 1 to 2 candidates, and then we just have to, pick who's better. Even for Defensive Player of the Year, it's usually a pretty simple award. board. However, this season, it's an interesting concept I don't think I've ever seen. We have one player who's on the best defensive team, and he obviously had a great season as far as defensive stats go. So you would think, okay, Gobert is the obvious choice, and that is where most voters are going to swing. However, with Wembanyama on the court for the Spurs, we saw that his stats for them on the defensive side they're immaculate, they're incredible. I mean, hell, this man averaged what, 3.6 blocks per game and 1.2 steals per game? He led the league in stocks, and don't worry, I'm going to talk about stocks later on because this man, he made history. But the point I'm trying to make is though, even though the Spurs defensively as a team did not have a good year, when Wemby was on the court, if we took just those moments when Wemby was on the court, they'd easily be a top 5 defense. I mean, there are some people saying that Wemby is already a better defender than Rudy Gobert, so it's hard for me to say which one of these players should be defensive player of the year. Now, obviously, I know the voters are going to swing to Rudy Gobert. My opinion, if I'm Victor Wembanyama, I'm taking this as a small W, because this entire season, if you ask me, was a W for Victor Wembanyama and even the Spurs franchise. Now, I'm sure most of you guys are on NBA Twitter, which by the way, if you have Twitter, you should follow me at the Spex Media. Anyways, if you were on Twitter this year, I'm sure you saw multiple tweets of Wemby just doing these ridiculous stats you've never heard of, and an account on Twitter called @SpursCulture actually put together some of these crazy statistics and records he did. So let's just talk about some of them. For example, he is the youngest player in NBA history to have a 40 and 20 game. That was a fucking incredible game. He's the only player in NBA history with 1,500 points, 250 blocks, and 100 3-pointers in a single season. He's the fastest player to reach 1K points, 500 rebounds, 150 blocks in their career. He's the first player in NBA history to average a 5x5 over a 2-game span. He's also the youngest player to have a 20 and 20 game. He's also the youngest player to record a 5x5 game, which we talked about earlier, and only 15 players have done this before. Youngest player to record a triple-double with blocks. Youngest center to record a triple-double. Youngest player in NBA history to record a triple-double with 0 turnovers. This isn't even half the list, guys. Fun fact, this season, Wemby averaged more blocks than the Miami Heat did as a team. He led the NBA in stocks, steals plus blocks with about 4.8 per game. He was also the first rookie with over 300 stocks since Shaq. Most consecutive double-doubles by a teenager in NBA history. And sure, I could keep going, but I think we all know what's going on. Victor Wembanyama just had a rookie season from hell that we're probably never going to see again. And the fact of the matter is, if you do not believe the hype, you definitely should now. Because again, we all had expectations for Wemby this year, but he has met our expectations and so much more. And the scariest thing to me about this entire situation is this man is not even in his final form. The fact that he said something along the lines of he's like 10 to 15% where he wants to be, that fucking scares me. I'm sorry, that scares me. Like, what is the final form of Victor Wembanyama? What is that going to be? Like, I don't even know what is going to happen when he gets to that point. Also, what's going to happen when he gets better teammates, or the Spurs are somehow able to land an all-star? Or what happens this year if they draft someone and he turns out to be a great player as well? There are so many different things that can go on, and I am very excited to see what happens. Usually, I don't pay attention to teams that are really fucking bad. It just doesn't make sense to do that. However, this year, I actually did watch a lot of Spurs games with the intention of watching Victor Wembanyama, and I can proudly say that this man just finished the best rookie season I've ever seen. But again, you guys already know that I've made this clear multiple times in this video, and I think even throughout the entire season I've said that.
Cause my job don't pay too well. Her mom and dad look at me like a fail. Yeah, cause I'm just burning. Either way, I still wish them well.